Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going to completely change how you write your quote menus. Because look, if you're a private chef, a freelance chef, or if you're booking gigs on platforms, you already know the absolute frustration of sending out quote after quote to potential clients and then nothing. Just absolute silence in return. Well, that ghosting, it stops today. We're going to walk through a proven, super practical system to get those silent clients actually talking to you, and more importantly, turn those frustrating inquiries into actual paid bookings. So, I really need you to hear this loud and clear right out of the gate. When you get an inquiry and you send back a quote, your menu is not just a menu. I see so many incredibly talented chefs literally pouring hours into crafting the absolute perfect, most creatively ambitious list of dishes for a first contact quote. They're treating it like it's the final, beautifully printed card sitting on the guest dining table. We really need to shatter that illusion right now. Your first quote, it's not about showing off your culinary perfection. Exactly. It is literally the very first sales tool your client interacts with. The main objective of this document isn't to finalize the entire event's catering right then and there. The objective is simply communication. Think of it as the bait that gets the client to actually open up a conversation with you. Because once they reply, that's when the real selling starts. If they don't reply, well, your perfect menu just vanishes into the void.
Okay, let's dive into this. We have a really practical roadmap today covering 5 key areas. Number 1, the first contact mindset. 2, writing cuisine-led titles. 3, the fishing line principle. 4, pricing psychology and trust. And finally, number 5, a foolproof follow-up strategy.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the first contact mindset, moving from perfection to communication.
You know, the core problem a lot of chefs face when quoting is this massive emotional investment in every single brief. You get a request, you get super excited, you plan this absolutely stunning menu, and then when they ghost you, man, it hurts. But we have to look at this reality check. On a lot of platforms, only about 5% of inquiries actually convert. That means 19 out of 20 usually go absolutely nowhere. So if you're trying to write the flawless final menu for every single one of those 20 inquiries, you're just going to burn out, for sure. You need a repeatable system that's focused on getting that crucial first reply, instead of emotionally investing in every lead like it's a guaranteed gig. And this brings us to the biggest mistake chefs make. There is a massive disconnect here. On the left, we've got what we want to cook, right? Our Michelin star ambitions, the micro-herbs being carefully placed with tweezers. But on the right, that's reality. That's what clients actually want to buy. They have a problem. Maybe it's a 50th birthday, a hen party, a bunch of tricky dietary restrictions, and they just want a solution. If you force a client into your perfect creative vision before you've even spoken a word to them, you risk totally alienating them. Your job right now is just to meet them exactly where they are. Moving right along to Section 2, writing cuisine-led titles and how clients actually search. Let's think about the very first thing the client reads when your quote lands in their inbox, the title. Clients do not search for vague, chef-ego titles. Things like 7-course autumn tasting menu or chef's modern seasonal journey. Sure, they sound highly polished to us, but to a buyer, it's just confusing. It doesn't actually tell them what they're buying. Now compare that to the right side, Italian sharing. Boom! It instantly tells the client the vibe, the flavor profile, the dining style, the whole shebang. Clear, cuisine-led titles are going to win every single time because they give immediate clarity. And when a client clicks through to your profile, it's got to be as easy to browse as a really great restaurant menu. Don't make them dig through a messy cupboard of random dishes. Organize your offerings into super clear categories. Things like French bistro, Middle Eastern feast, or barbecue and fire cooking. Why? Because a confused client simply does not book. Make it completely effortless for them to see what you do.
All right, let's hit Section 3, the fishing line principle. Every dish is a hook.
Okay, this is a metaphor that I promise will absolutely change how you write your dish lists from here on out. Think of it like this. Treat every single dish on your quote menu as a distinct piece of bait. Not every dish needs to be totally perfect for every single guest at the table. You don't have to solve the whole event on the first try. You literally just need one single dish to catch the client's eye and make them think, wow, okay, that sounds amazing. This chef is definitely worth replying to. Let's break down some simple math on this. If you send a really rigid menu with 3 starters, 3 mains, and 3 desserts, you've only got 9 fishing lines in the water. You're giving yourself just 9 chances to hit the exact flavor profile or ingredient that the client is craving right then. And if none of those 9 dishes appeal to them, they're just going to click away.
But let's move to the next step and see how this builds. If you expand your quote to offer 4 courses with 5 options per course, you just exponentially increased your hooks to around 20. More hooks create way more chances to get a reply. Now, obviously, you aren't saying you're going to cook all 20 dishes, you're just exhibiting what you can do and giving them plenty of reasons to start a conversation with you.
So how do you actually build out those 20 hooks effectively? Mentally screenshot this checklist. Across your course options, aim for a diversity framework that hits all these notes. A white meat option, a red meat option, a vegan or vegetarian dish, fish or seafood, and some kind of cultural classic. By spanning this kind of range, you make sure your menu has wide enough appeal to spark interest from almost any client, no matter who is on their specific guest list.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, Pricing Psychology and Trust, and why cheaper isn't always better.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the actual 2025 data, because there is this massive myth in the private chef world that being the absolute cheapest is the secret to winning the job. Check this out. Matching the client's budget gives you about a 43% chance of securing the job. Quoting 20% over their budget gives you a 37% chance. But quoting under their budget, that gives you the absolute lowest chance, coming in at just 20%. Let that sink in for a second. Being cheaper actually hurts your chances.
To really understand why this happens, think about a car showroom. If a client walks in and says, "Hey, my budget is £10,000, and the dealer immediately turns around and offers them a car for £8,000, the buyer doesn't usually think, "Wow, what a bargain." They immediately think, "Wait, what's wrong with it?" Private dining isn't just about food. It's heavily about trust, confidence, and perceived value. Unexpectedly underquoting completely damages that perceived value and just creates instant suspicion.
On the flip side of that, quoting slightly over budget can actually position you as the premium better option. It adds to your value perception. Plus, practically speaking, it really helps you recover those pesky platform fees. When you frame a slightly higher quote by saying something like, for 20% more, I can give you a stronger version of this menu with much better ingredients and way more choice. It feels guided, right? It builds their confidence in you as an expert, and hey, it improves your margins too.
All right, bringing it home with Section 5, the follow-up strategy, how we filter the serious clients.
This brings us to the final and, honestly, perhaps the most crucial step of the whole workflow. Simply sitting around and waiting after hitting send on that beautiful quote menu? Huge mistake. You have to actively invite the conversation. So the workflow is this. Send the quote. Immediately go back to your Request tab, open up the direct message function, and shoot over a bespoke follow-up note. Doing this helps filter out the silent tire kickers from the serious clients who actually genuinely want to book a chef.
And here's a perfect little template you can use for that message. Hi Sarah, I've sent over a menu idea based around your Italian sharing brief. Happy to adjust around your favorite dishes or any dietary requirements. This kind of bespoke message is just golden. It proves to them that you actually took the time to read their specific brief, it highlights your cuisine style, and most importantly, it explicitly tells them that your menu is totally flexible.
So, the crucial point I want you to take away from this explainer is this. Your first goal is never perfection. Your first goal is communication. Do not put unnecessary restrictions on your menus. Don't force your personal vision onto a client before you've even had a chance to speak with them. Exhibit what you can do, use your dishes as hooks, price with absolute confidence, and just invite them to chat. Once they reply, you have their permission to guide them, and that is when the real selling process begins.
I'm going to leave you with a quick challenge for your own business today. I want you to take a hard look at your current offerings and ask yourself, what is the one dish on your menu that always without fail gets clients talking? Identify your absolute strongest hook, put it front and center, and start revamping your menu strategy right now. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy cooking.